Well, we're going to have a look at weather next week to 10 days in today's video. It's going to take us up to around the 7th of February, something like that. So going into the first week of February, almost going into the second week of February actually. We're in for colder weather, as I'm sure you know. We're going to get colder conditions coming in from tomorrow. They'll be staying with us for the rest of the week, then into the weekend, on into next week. So a fairly extended cold spell coming up, really. Not severely cold. It's not the sort of cold that they've got over on the eastern side of America, where they've been absolutely buried with snow at the moment, and a very severe wind chill with that as well. That really is killer cold. There's headlines in the papers today, on one particular paper anyway, talking about we're going to be in for killer cold conditions. Killer cold is what they've got in America. We're just going to have generally cold weather, which could produce some snow at times, particularly in the north, but it's not going to be sort of whiteout conditions that they've got over on the eastern side of the state. Nevertheless, fairly potent cold spell coming up, and probably the coldest spell of the winter so far. So we'll have a look at the charts in a moment. Before we get on with that, say about the ads, there's links to articles on most of the pages at GazWeather.com. Have a browse through the widgets. If there's any articles that you're interested in, click through and you'll be able to go off and read those articles. Thanks very much for doing that. So just to quickly start off with the situation in America at the moment. This is the troublemaker on the eastern seaboard, very deep area of low pressure just around the eastern and northeastern coast of the states. It's proper northeaster, putting in this strong and bitterly cold northeasterly wind. You've got the high pressure up over eastern parts of Canada, and then you've also got the warmth coming out of the Gulf Stream. I explained this yesterday, up the eastern coast of the Atlantic coast of America. The two air masses sort of meet and produce this explosive area of low pressure, which produces lots of heavy snow and blizzard conditions. Notice the ridging out in the west. Very warm out in the west of the states, in the northwest of Canada. These are the upper air temperatures showing the warmth through the central and western parts of the states, going up into southwestern parts of Canada. Conversely, you've got that very cold air coming down into the east. As I always say, the weather is constantly looking for an equilibrium, it's constantly looking for a balance. So if one place is very warm, another place is going to be very cold, and vice versa. And we get it the same in Europe, really. When it's very cold in the northwest, it tends to be warm in the east and the southeast. And then when it's cold in the east and southeast, very often it's mild up in the west and the northwest of Europe. It's always a case that nature, the weather, climate is looking for an equilibrium. It can never find an equilibrium. That's why there's constant changes. It can never find an equilibrium, but it's always looking for it. So yeah, if one place is warm, and in this case it's out in the west of America at the moment, another place will be quite cold. And you see the temperature gradient there on the eastern seaboard, with the warmth going up the eastern coast of the Atlantic coast, and then the cold air coming around on the northern side and western side of that area of low pressure. Things will be easing there over the next couple of days, but they're in for it today. They're going to really know that this story is going on. This is a very useful webcam from Massachusetts. This was sent to me by somebody on Facebook, and just see the conditions going on there. It's just gone 5:30 in the morning over on the eastern coast of America, and you can see it's full sort of whiteout type conditions, blowing snow, and lots of drifting going on there as well. It's going to be a rough old day for them. And then they could do it all over again at the end of the week in the far northeast of America. They could drop another very nasty area of low pressure onto that eastern coast, and have more snow and strong winds. Now, these are the CFS 500 millibar height anomaly charts for the coming month, coming back home and seeing what's going on for us. These are broken down into week periods. So the first week period takes us from the 26th of January to the 1st of February. As you know, with 500 millibar heights, blue is extrapolating and green extrapolating to low pressure, and then the red sort of colours, orange, red, is extrapolating to high pressure. So for the coming week, the week that we're in, we've got a trough of low pressure around the UK. We've got a ridge out in the central part of the Atlantic. The trough is elongating down in central parts of Europe, so the jet stream is going like this through the trough, and that's a pretty cold one as well. Notice the troughing over the eastern side of the United States. There's that ridge in the west of the states, by the way, so that's where it's warm in the west of the states. This is the trough in the east, causing all of the cold air and the snow, sort of mayhem in the east of the United States. But coming back to us, we've got the ridge in the Atlantic, the trough around the UK, pulling the jet stream to the south of the country. It will be turning colder through the coming week, and the low pressure there will provide the potential for some wintry conditions through the course of the coming week. As we move through into the next weekly period, going from the 2nd to the 8th of February, so that through that first week of February, what we see in this week is that we shove the trough off to the east, so going more in towards central parts of Europe. The ridge is there in the Atlantic. It's still cold generally. The flow is going like this through the country, so it probably turns drier through the first week of February, but it would still be cold, I think, with that. Flow is still generally from a northerly type direction, so yeah, it will still be cold, but probably turning drier as the trough moves off into the east, but there will be some, again, wintry potential coming through. And then going through to the next weekly period, this takes us from the 9th to the 15th of February, we find the flow going more westerly, so we set the low pressure, the trough up around Greenland, actually, a ridge through the central part of the Atlantic going down towards the Azores. That's a more typical normal type pattern. The flow is coming in off the Atlantic, it's westerly flow, so it will be milder through that second week of February, with the winds going westerly. Probably bring bouts of rain, particularly to the north and west of the country, but temperatures lifting up through that second week of February. But then look what happens as we go through into the third week of February. This takes us from the 16th to the 22nd. This is very interesting. We find big red area, big area of above average height setting up over Scandinavia, very interestingly, and the trough there is being pinned back around Greenland and Newfoundland. Still got a little bit of a ridge down across the Azores, but it is weaker. The flow with that one is going something like that around the ridge, sitting up to the northeast, and what this could do is push the winds around into an easterly as we go through into that third week of February. Now, it would depend how cold the continent is as to whether that is a cold easterly. I can tell you that, won't show you, but I can tell you that the temperature forecast that goes with that from the CFS V2 model is actually fairly mild. It's in fairly mild conditions, but I think we would need to see how cold the surface temperatures are over on the continent, but that is definitely signs of an easterly wind coming through there around the middle part of February. That's a big blocking area of high pressure, by the way, over Scandinavia. That would take some shifting, and if there is cold over the continent, which there could well be, that would be a cold easterly wind coming in through the third week of the month. So shaping up to be quite a cold February actually there, because the first week is cold, it moderates in the second week, and it goes cold probably again in the third week, so that would be a pretty chilly month emerging. These are the temperature anomalies for the coming week. That's all very experimental, of course, going a month ahead. You do have to take with a bit of a pinch of salt, but I think you should find it interesting to see how the CFS is seeing that area of high pressure setting up later on in February. Come back to the nearer time frame. These are the temperature anomalies for the coming week, the 27th to the 4th of February, or 27th of January to the 4th of February. Going to be a colder than average week. The warmth is being pushed further and further back on these charts day by day. Now really the above average temperatures in the very far east of Europe and across Russia. Most parts of Europe actually going colder than average during the coming week. Our sort of temperature anomaly is somewhere between around 2 to 4 degrees below average. So quite a cold week there coming up. I should say 0 to 4 degrees below average. So yeah, quite a cold week coming up. The temperature, precipitation anomaly, I should say, from the 27th of January to the 4th of February shows that we're going drier than average, so we're blocking off the Atlantic. It is going to be a relatively dry period coming through. Notice precipitation anomalies above average in the North Sea. That's as normally winds are bringing snow showers down the North Sea. Those could affect the eastern coast, and there could be troughs and disturbances within this flow. So whilst overall the precipitation anomaly is drier than average, it certainly doesn't preclude some precipitation coming through at times. That precipitation could be wind chill. I'll be updating Snow Watch tonight, by the way. So having a look at the generic charts, it's for GFS for Saturday, and we're in this northwesterly flow across the country, or really going northerly. by that time. Low pressure is somewhere off the coast of East Anglia, so it's an unstable flow. There's low pressure around. There would be wintry showers coming through at times. It's snow, particularly I think for the north, rain, sleet or snow, wintry mix probably further south. That's from Wednesday going through in towards the weekend. As we go into the second half of the weekend, it actually turns a bit colder. That low pressure by Sunday is moving off in towards Germany, and that really is opening the floodgates to a proper northerly wind. So a bitterly cold northerly wind coming down on Sunday. Temperatures will probably be struggling to get above freezing all day, I would assume, with that, especially in the north. Then some sort of disturbances coming through the flow as we go through into Monday. That's indicated by these kinks in the isobars. Not sure if you can quite make that out, but there is a weather front through that kink that's feeding back to around here. Very cold air coming in behind that front, by the way. That could be producing snow, especially up in the north. As we go through into later on Monday, that's coming southwards, bringing the risk of snow perhaps to the south. We'd need to wait until nearer the time frame to see exactly how the dew points and everything else are coming together. But certainly something is coming southwards there on Monday with those kinks in the isobars, indicating the chance of wintry conditions. Go through to Tuesday, continue to push that southwards, and northerly winds return. Wednesday, it's staying cold, although the low pressure is going off in towards Central Europe. We saw it on this CFS height anomaly charts as we get through the first week. That low pressure is going off into Central Europe. Bit of a ridge building in the west. It's basically dry but very cold by the middle of next month with hard overnight frost. Then interesting as we go through towards day 10, this is Thursday the 5th of February, and day 10 takes us to Friday the 6th of February. We're building this ridge in from the Atlantic, and it's trying to move up towards Scandinavia, all backing off into this big area of high pressure across west parts of Russia. I spoke about this yesterday. There is the chance that with heights rising across western Russia, we could start to build up some sort of area of high pressure to the east. This could be the first signs of that blocking over Scandinavia that we saw on the CFS height anomaly chart. Now, as we go through to the 7th of February, we're actually in a milder flow then, bringing up southerly winds, but that's bringing lots of warm air advection up in towards Scandinavia, or to the west of Scandinavia, I should say, bringing lots of warm air advection up into western Scandinavia and in towards the Arctic, just helping to promote this ridging across Scandinavia, and it all backs off in towards a ridge that's sitting over western parts of Russia. So that could be the first signs of heights rising over Scandinavia as we get through into the middle of February. But in the shorter term, up to day 10, that does actually turn it a bit milder in the second half of next week with those southerly winds. The ECMWF showed that, again, got this unstable northerly over the weekend, coming down across the country, so there'll be wintry conditions at times. We need to firm up on where those wintry conditions are going to be. We go through to Sunday the 1st, still in that northerly flow across the country. Again, some sort of system is coming down from the north as we go through into Monday. The kinks in the isobars are indicating that wintry conditions pushing southwards through Monday into Tuesday. Again, there's a weather front within those kinks in the isobars, probably going something like that. So again, cold air is ahead of that front, cold air behind that front. There would be the potential for snow, depending on whether there is a moderated warm sector. And then in the extended range, going through to the middle of next week and the second half of next week, the ECMWF actually pulls the winds into west and turns it a bit milder. So a little bit different from the ECMWF this morning. It ends the cold spell around Wednesday next week and turns it milder. That is a bit of a mild outlier, though, that run of the ECMWF. This is the ensemble for Debuilt in Holland from the ECMWF. That run there, the operational run of the ECMWF, is indicated by this red line here on this ensemble chart. You can see that that red line is clearly one of the warmest lines of the whole ensemble, really. So it is a mild outlier, this morning's ECMWF in its extended range, although The red dash line here is the ensemble mean, the mean of every single individual member of the ensemble. You see that very gradually there is a milder trend going on there as we go through into the second week of February. So whilst it's probably a bit progressive in turning it milder through the middle part of next week, that's probably the direction that will go in as we move through into the second week of February. This morning's ECM just does it a bit too quickly. So that's probably what we're looking at. We're looking at this cold spell coming through over the next few days. It's going to start tomorrow. It'll go through to the end of the week. It'll get colder over the weekend and into the start of next week as well. Probably goes on to the middle of next week. Then it may turn a bit milder in the second half of next week. After that, we could get a milder interlude, but we've got watching out for high pressure to be building to the northeast, I think, probably for the second half of February, which could switch the winds into the east. And it just depends how cold the continent is when those winds go easterly as to whether we will get a really cold spell in the second half of February. But overall, very interesting if you like colder conditions. That's it for now. On to look at those webcams in America. See the snow piling up on the eastern seaboard. Very entertaining they are. And tonight we're doing Snow Watch, looking at the chance of some wintry conditions over the next couple of days in this country. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.